So, Paul, during all this change, are there some specific things that I should be doing to get on top of issues right now?
Sure, like some of my top tips on how best to navigate these uncertain times would be to start with the basics. So consider things like asking your landlord for a reduction in rent if you're personally renting, or even if you're renting a business premises, then quite often landlords are open to that if you've seen a fall in income. You could convert your home loan to interest only, or reduce your repayments to the minimum repayments if cash flow is tight. As a last resort, you could defer your loan repayments, but be careful in doing that, in that the bank will still charge you interest for that period, so you're effectively adding to your loan. You can also review your expenses. So Service New South Wales features a cost of living area on their website that helps you navigate more than 70 different rebates and savings that are offered by the New South Wales government, such as the family energy rebate, green slip price check comparison calculator. That's a tongue twister for you.
It is a tongue twister.
You can also review your phone, internet, or streaming services to make sure that you're getting the best deal there, or consider changing or reducing services. Some people also, if they're working from home, their employers have offered to pay for their internet service during this period, so that might be an opportunity there too if you haven't already asked your employer to help out there. And if you are experiencing severe financial hardship, you could consider accessing some of your superannuation, but we would really consider this as a last resort, and you should certainly seek advice before going down that path.
So, Paul, there's obviously a lot of government incentives out and about at the moment. We've got Job Seeker and Job Keeper. If you're a small business person, talk to us a little bit about Job Keeper, because I've been reading into it and it is a little bit confusing.
JobKeeper is causing a lot of confusion for a lot of small businesses at the moment, and the main reason for that is the government's really only literally in the last couple of days come out with the details on what's involved in being able to claim that, and it is quite an involved process. I think first and foremost, to qualify, you need to see a 30% reduction in your GST from this March quarter to the March quarter of 2019. And there are a number of other hurdles there that you need to make sure that you comply with to be able to qualify for this bonus. It is worthwhile though if you are able to qualify. So we recommend talking to your accountant or advisor to make sure you get good advice in making sure that you get the benefits of this JobKeeper payment.
Yes, because there's a lot of small businesses out there, but they may be incorporated and they may have lost income, but they may not have been paying themselves a wage, for example. Are you able to share some information around whether people are eligible for JobKeeper in that circumstance?
I know that business owners are able to, even if you're effectively own the business and you're an employee of the business as well, you're still able to access the JobKeeper benefits. So certainly, again, I think it's an area where if you're unsure, get advice and have a chat to your accountant or advisor to make sure you are not missing out on any benefits.
Yeah, I think the key thing, as you said, is to get advice, because there are lots of ifs, buts and maybes, and you really need to make sure that you are across the detail of that. But it's certainly a great benefit if you can access it. Paul, you've said a number of times that it's important to get advice, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. When you're dealing with the technicalities of things, you do need to get specialist advice. But something that worries a lot of people is, who do you trust? Who do you go to, and how do you know if you can trust them with your financial affairs?
Yeah, certainly many people during this period are feeling worried, afraid and confused, which is perfectly understandable, and they're looking to turn to somebody for advice, but wondering who they can trust. And having trust in the person providing you with that advice can go a long way to helping put your mind at ease. And when it comes to financial advice, trust is paramount. So the first thing we normally say to people is, to ask your friends and family for a referral. If they've already got a good relationship with an advisor, then that's a great start for you to develop some form of trust with them from the get-go. You need to know when you meet with your advisor that you're being heard, that you're being listened to, and that you're being understood. That you're talking to somebody who understands exactly what it is that you want to achieve, and perhaps the complexities that may be hindering you from achieving those things. And when paying for advice, the fee should be transparent and upfront. And it's a fee that's based on the value that you're seeking rather than how much you've got to invest or what your net worth is or what your income is. And first meeting generally shouldn't come with a fee, and it should represent an opportunity for you and your advisor to get to know each other and to determine if there's an opportunity for you to work together, and if obviously, even if you trust the advisor that you're looking to work with.
Yeah, so you should be seeking to have the first appointment free, and that's your opportunity to get to know your advisor and for your advisor to get to know you and to see if there's a rapport, and to basically understand whether you feel that this person is right for you.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a two-way street. Obviously, you want to feel comfortable with the advisor that you're working with, but the advisor also wants to make sure that they're in a position where they can add value and help you. So that they need to make sure that the relationship is going to work for them going forward as well, and that they can add value.
So, Paul, if I've just retired, I've seen potentially a big chunk of my superannuation just vaporize. If I'm in that situation, what should I be doing?
We always recommend that you focus on those things that you can control. So 3 things that you could do are if you have an account-based pension or an allocated pension, you could consider reducing those pension payments to the minimum. The government's recently introduced the ability to halve those minimum payments, so you could halve your pension payments if you're able to do so from a cash flow point of view. You may consider returning to work in some capacity, even if that's just part-time, to supplement your income. And also review your options for getting help from Centrelink. If you currently aren't getting any Centrelink benefits, you may now be entitled to a pension or other payments that previously weren't based on your assets or deemed income. And also, if you have a financial planner, then check in with them to get some advice to make sure that you're on the right track.
So, Paul, we've been in lockdown for a few weeks now, and a number of us have lost our jobs. Others have been significantly impacted in terms of the income in our businesses. And a lot of the government payments haven't kicked in yet. We know we might be entitled to them, but they haven't arrived. And a number of us are feeling very, very cash strapped right now. What are some immediate things we could do to help?
Look, first and foremost, I think it's a great opportunity to review your expenses, and some ways to reduce some of that burden of those expenses would be that if you're renting, then talk to your landlord to see if you can get a reduction in rent or rent temporarily suspended until those benefits start to be paid. If you have a mortgage, consider reducing your repayments to the minimum, converting your loan to an interest-only loan, or putting all of your payments on hold, although that would really only be a last resort. Review your discretionary spending, so cut out those non-essential things, which is a lot easier to do when you're in lockdown. It's a lot harder to go out for dinner at a restaurant. And shop around on fixed expenses, so things like health insurance and electricity. Now is a good time to be able to review those expenses to see if you could perhaps save some money there.
Yes, I think you make a good point there about reviewing your expenses and also negotiating. I know when I've had a conversation with my health insurer, for example, I've been with them for a very long time, and I found another health insurer that was going to give me a better deal. It was amazing how my current insurer actually jumped in and said, no, we'll match that price just to hold on to your business. So I think another message might be, don't be afraid to play hardball and negotiate, because people are prepared to help you out there at the moment.
Yeah, certainly negotiating with your existing providers makes sense. I mean, they're a business just like everybody else, and they're finding it hard to compete and to stay profitable during these times. So they're also open to negotiation to make sure that they get to keep their business, and obviously then for them that they get that loyalty going forward if they're able to keep you on board now.
Yeah, very good point. So, Paul, when we're in financial crisis and when you're in relationship, things can get a little tricky. It can be a challenging time. We're in lockdown, and that's challenging enough. But money can also put a lot of stress and strain on relationships. As a financial planner, what advice do you have to couples and families during this time.
But money can have a significant impact on a relationship, even when there's good times and we're not in lockdown. So we think the most important thing to do with regards to money in a relationship is communicate, no matter how difficult that might be sometimes. And of course, if you are having problems, then consider meeting with a coach or an advisor or a counsellor, somebody who's impartial to help you work through those problems regarding communicating and finance. If you think that your partner is trying to control your behaviour or restrict your freedom by withholding money or being too controlling of finances in some other way, then we do recommend that you seek help, because this is really domestic abuse and it's not something that should be acceptable to either party in a relationship. We think it's important that you take the time to discuss what's important to each of you. Do you understand what your partner's goals are and the outcomes that they're looking to achieve? And also discuss whether there's anything that's worrying you and what concerns that you might have. And remember that in any relationship, there's always a need to compromise. So it might be that he needs a new mountain bike or wants a new mountain bike, but that's not something that she necessarily values. But it's important that you are working as a team and that you're both on the, it's important that you're working as a team and that you're both on the same page, working towards the same goals and outcomes.
And it's probably a good opportunity to sit down together and work out a budget and actually use the budgeting process to have a conversation about, well, what are all the expenses and what are the needs and what are the wants, and separating what's really needed from what we want but don't need.
Definitely, now's a great time to sit down and collaboratively look at a budget. We tend to find that within any relationship, one party of that relationship, one partner tends to do more of the heavy lifting when it comes to finance. So one may be, worried about the budget more than the other, or, paying the bills more than the other. And it's important that you communicate these things so that one partner doesn't feel the burden of all of the financial responsibility, that's shared by both parties going forward.
So, Paul, during times of cash flow crisis, just as in a personal relationship, you need to have conversations with your business partners as well. So talk us through some strategies around how we might go about having those conversations. And some of them might be difficult conversations with our business partners.
Look, certainly money affects pretty much every aspect of your life. And when you go into business with somebody, then similar to a relationship on a personal level, the relationship that you have with your business partner is going to be impacted by money on a day-to-day basis. So we think it's important that you communicate with your business partner. Sometimes you may be on a different page as to where you see the business going, or you may have different goals or outcomes for the business. If there's an age difference, one may be looking to exit the business sooner. A younger business partner may be looking to grow the business more aggressively, as an example. So we think it's important that you communicate, that you each articulate what goals and outcomes you're looking to achieve from the business, that you're open about each of your strengths and weaknesses, and focus on those strengths and weaknesses. For any business, they need to maintain profitability, and now's a good time to just review your expenses. If your income's dropped, then the only other way you can improve your profitability is to review your expenses and reduce those unnecessary expenses that you may have at the moment. It's important also that, as business owners, that you're passionate about the business, and are you on the same page of where you want that business to be going, growing and achieving.
And I think an interesting conversation for businesses to be having right now is my business going to be the same post-corona as it was pre-corona? And are my customers going to be interacting with me in the same way? Or do I need to make a change? And there may be an opportunity to have a pivot or a re-engineering of the business conversation to make sure that businesses are relevant when we come out of this.
Look, certainly Corona has had a big impact on, not just us personally, but businesses as well. And now is an opportunity to review your business model and perhaps make changes for a business operating in a post-Corona world. Is that going to be different for your business? Are there things that you could put in place that would reduce the risk to the business of something like this happening again? I know for us personally, we're doing lots of meetings now online. Does that mean that we need to be renting an office going forward? Maybe, maybe not. But certainly it's an opportunity now to reevaluate how you do business and what things are absolutely necessary going forward, or could we be doing it better?
I think you touch on a really interesting point. I think the nature of work and the nature in how we work and where we work is likely to change. And small businesses, one of their biggest expenses is often their lease,
yeah,
and the rent that they pay. So maybe post-Corona, you only need an office half the size.
Yeah, certainly for a lot of businesses, I think that this has shown them that it is okay. We have the technology to be able to work from home and to communicate and still be productive. And in some cases, we're seeing productivity increase in that, we don't have to worry about commuting, and that can take up a large chunk of your day. So for some businesses, I think certainly they'll review their lease arrangements post-Corona and perhaps save money that way going forward.
And it might be an opportunity to start initiating those conversations early if your lease is coming up.
Yes, definitely. So if you're already in discussions with your landlord about reducing payments on the lease, then now may be a good opportunity to also discuss when that renewal is due and what options you may have. The two really important things for business owners to be aware of at the moment is to focus on those things that you can control and to also know your numbers. If your numbers are down and if you're losing money, don't put things off until they're so bad that you don't have any options. Focus on looking for a solution now while you still have those options available.